Wir sind immer wieder unterwegs, um neue Geschichten zu erzählen, häufig auch virtuell. Vor kurzem sind wir über einen YouTube-Kanal gestolpert, auf dem es ums Reisen geht. Ich bin Sebastian.
Und ich bin Toni und unsere heutigen Gäste sind gebürtige Schweden und noch wissen wir gar nicht, wo genau sie sich gerade aufhalten. Sie haben es sich zur Aufgabe gemacht, 100 Länder vor ihrem 25. Geburtstag zu bereisen und auch Sprache wird uns heute wieder beschäftigen, denn diese wird unsere erste englische Folge. So, for the first time in Ausgang Podcast history, we will switch to English now because our two beautiful guests are from Sweden and feel more comfortable speaking English, so let's get started. Hello and willkommen Oskar and Daniel.
Ausgang Podcast.
Die Gesprächsvollzieher.
Danke.
Danke, thank you.
Hi. As we said, you are always on tour, traveling. Where are you at the moment?
Well, right now we're home actually for a change.
Yeah.
So we're spending about a week at home before heading out again.
Yeah, and then you can catch us on tour.
Exactly.
Is this a normal time span when you get a pause? I call it a pause or a break for the travels. 1 week at home, say hello to friends, and then go on. Or how long are you at home normally?
We think a lot about what is the perfect length of time to be home between trips, because sometimes, a week is too little to see everyone and do everything you want to do. But then when it starts to get to a month, you start getting into a routine, which we kind of feel can be a bad or boring thing. So then we want to get out of that. So we think 2 to 3 weeks at home is kind of good.
Yeah, like our routine is not having a routine, So when we start getting into one, it gets almost uncomfortable, It's just not what we're used to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How many countries did you travel till now?
So right now it's 78.
78.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you travel all 2 or 3 weeks in a row, are you a little bit afraid of the time after you have visited 100 countries, so that you are at home and, I don't know, make the garden or learn new hobbies, or what do you plan? I think it's okay. The question is very early, but I think if you traveled in a short time, so many countries, there's a risk that you don't want to be on one place longer than 1 month, as you said.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I can respond to that.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I think that it's a big problem because the more you travel, the more you kind of become used to the idea of things always being new, or there's always some excitement. So for most people who spend many months, more than half a year traveling, it's something you can't stop. So whatever goal we achieve, even if we go to every country in the world, we still will continue to go to other places, maybe in different forms. Maybe we'll do slower travel and try to explore, more parts of Germany, for example, than we have before, and see little villages, that kind of stuff. But it really is something that becomes so addictive that you can't just, I love the thought of a garden and a house, but also we know that we won't be happy.
Yeah, it's called it's a phenomenon. It's called the traveler's curse, and it's essentially that. Like, you just keep on going. You can't really you're so used to seeing new things, experiencing new things all the time, that when you get into just having like monotony for a little while, it just becomes boring, you know. And it's there's a time in life for everything. So obviously things might change in the future and we might feel completely differently about it, when we're 30 or 35. But, for now, this is the lifestyle that works for us.
Yeah, and you can always have your house and your garden when you are going to retire, whatever that will be.
Exactly.
But speaking of a house and a garden, where would that be? Would that be in Sweden or would that be anywhere else?
You're asking the impossible question.
It would be in Cologne.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
Cologne next. No, but it is very hard, and especially settling on one place now is obviously that's going to change in the future. But I think it's going to be difficult for us to have one single place that's this is where we are, say 10 months of the year, that's just not, I just can't see that for us, at least right now. So
have you guys heard of the idea of digital nomads?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. So I think that it's getting more and more popular. Obviously, with the pandemic, more and more people are working online, that type of stuff. So hopefully we start seeing a lot more businesses that cater to people who want to travel and work. So whether that's schools where the whole like class of students move around to different places so that even when you have kids, you can live a more kind of uprooted lifestyle, or, you know, there's a network of homes that you can trade and share, like all those types of cool ideas that would even make it possible to settle down in one place for 6 months or a year and not cause too much instability for your kids, for example, by having something that's constant. Because I think there's also a lot of value for kids to not only take, you know, small vacations, but to also experience living in different places. Mm-hmm. So I'm very inspired by, well, there's several YouTubers, but there's one family called the Bucket List family, and they travel with their 3 adorable young kids to all type of places. They just spent 3 months in Africa. And it's so cool because, you know, most kids read about in books, they read about elephants or crocodiles, but these kids are like seeing them in real life and getting to see how they interact in nature and that type of, you know, that's what I would want for our kids too, to experience those things in person.
Yeah, it sounds very good. I think since the pandemic started, there's quite a shift. Just working, you can work everywhere. You can just work online or at home or wherever. And since I'm working at the office since January, I noticed that too. Many of my colleagues work from home. One was in Munich a few weeks ago and worked from there for 2 days, and that's not a problem. I mean, in case your computer is everything you need for work, I think that, yeah, it will change, and probably to a point where people just travel all the time like you guys do and still work.
Yeah, and hopefully it's possible for us and for everyone else to do that in a sustainable and good way, where we also like respect the culture of the places we're going to. But I think that everyone is realizing that, you know, time is short. And I mean, I waste way too much time just on my phone and my computer. So what I do in the other time when I'm not on there is so much more important. So for me just to be in Sweden 365 days a year and seeing the same thing, then I feel like life is just slipping away. And I feel like a lot of people are starting to see that maybe I can live kind of a normal life, just switch my location for a bit and experience something new and fun.
It also needs to be sustainable for yourself though, right? Like, for example, like for us, you know, we find that, you know, if we come home for a week and then we go out traveling for 2 weeks, and like in one day, we'll experience the same number of things that we would experience in those 2 weeks at home. You know, it's like, it's very much more intense, of course. So obviously you need to find like a balance that kind of works for you. And I think for us, the thing is usually just taking short breaks here and there, but like trying to travel in more like bursts, you know, but obviously that's different for everyone, but yeah.
I come back to the 100 countries till 25. Last time I'm sure. Why do you need to visit 100 countries till 25? Have you had a party and said we need a special thing till 25? I think we can touch, we can plant an apple tree, or we can travel 100 countries.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal for us is to visit every country in the world. And that would be a huge achievement for us personally. And I think the 100 countries before 25 is just an initial push, you know, like keeping ourselves accountable and trying to get in as many as possible now early so that it doesn't feel as daunting, you know, later on as we get a little older, you know, that we haven't been to 100 countries yet or whatever, you know. It's not about numbers in the end, but it's just like getting that initial push, you know.
Yeah, and we did set the goal ourselves. It was our own idea. So it's not really something we have to do. So sometimes when it gets really stressful or like overwhelming, it's like, okay, do we really have to be so stressed about this when it doesn't really mean anything? But it is good, as Oskar says, to just have something pushing us, because it's very easy to get comfortable, just like people get comfortable in a, you know, quote unquote normal life. You can also get comfortable with traveling and go to places that are very easy or that you've been before, that you like. And we noticed that before the pandemic, that we kept going back to places we loved, like Thailand and Malaysia, Korea, where we lived. Mexico, like we just keep going back there instead of exploring new places, because then we might not discover somewhere that we end up loving. And that's what's really happened now that we've gone to countries that seem very random to us. And we've been like, wow, this is amazing. Like Uzbekistan, we went to.
We were just in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yeah, Bosnia blew our mind. Yeah. So places that weren't really at the top of our list, but there was cheap flights there or something worked out. And then we're so happy we went.
Yeah, I can just recommend watching your videos on that, because they are very, very nice and beautiful. Beautiful places. I had a former colleague from Croatia, and she showed me her hometown in Croatia on YouTube and all the places around, and I was just impressed how beautiful it is, and with all the ocean, and I don't know, it's very nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
We can see in your videos that you have, I think you have much technical devices at your travel, because I think you have a drone because of pictures on bridges and something like that. Do you have many devices? Do you plan what you can take with you and where you have enough energy to load them and something like that? Because of long trips, you perhaps don't have enough energy or something like that.
Absolutely. We have the world's fanciest camera. It's called the iPhone. And
this is not an advertisement.
We do have a drone, the Mavic Mini 2, which is one of the cheapest drones that DJI makes. But it's so great because even under EU law, you're allowed to fly without a license. So it's really portable, really convenient, and quite cheap. And then we only really use our iPhones, which people are like, what? And my main job is I have another YouTube channel where I heard you guys aren't huge fans of flying, but my job is to review airlines.
Oh, okay, great.
So it's a big channel, and a lot of people ask me what cameras I use, or if they see me filming in public, they don't take me seriously because I pull out my iPhone and they're like, what is this? But it's not about size or having something super, an impressive, expensive camera. Because in the end, they see the quality and they're like, they realize they've been screwed. Because here I am pulling out my phone. It's in my pocket. Don't have to have anything extra or pay anything extra. And the quality is amazing. So anyone who wants to start doing vlogs or TikToks or anything, there's so many big YouTubers who just use the most basic equipment. And then you save money, you save waste, and it's the most convenient thing.
Yeah, and you don't need to carry around tons of equipment with cameras and microphones and everything, right?
Yeah, and people who travel with big DSLR cameras will know that, I mean, at least for me, when I carry it around and it's like swinging or it's bumping against my hip, why would I want that when I can get the same quality from my phone?
Which is something that you always have.
Super fancy.
Yeah, you always have it with you anyway, right? So you just pull it out of your pocket and there you go. That's it. That's all you need for documentation.
Exactly. Hacks.
It's too easy. But it's always the easy way, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
You make new content very continuously, and every time we open YouTube, we see new videos of you. Is it challenging for you to make this content constantly and 4 days or once a week to make a new video, to think about what you can tell, what you can show, what you have filmed? Well,
so that's something we've had to realize, is that although it's a travel vlog and it's supposed to be kind of, spontaneous, we record the things that we see and you can't plan everything beforehand. You kind of need to have some sort of plan before you go okay, this is the kind of story we want to tell, when we go to Croatia, or this is the kind of story we want to tell when we go to X country, So that saves quite a lot of time afterwards, because then you don't have to fit your footage into a certain frame, you can, if you have that idea from before, kind of what direction you're taking it. But, in the beginning, it was very okay, just recording stuff and then just trying to put it together and try to make it make sense somehow, But yeah, so that's what we're trying to improve. And obviously, I mean, we love making the videos, and I'm usually the one who edits them. So, and I love doing that. So it's not a challenge per se, I'd say, just because it's fun. It's just enjoyable, So
I think that's the key with anything, like you guys doing this podcast. It's just about, if you find it fun, you'll find time for it, and it becomes, it kind of becomes a priority. So as soon as you're someone is doing YouTube just because they want to be famous, there's no, there's no longevity in that.
Yeah.
If you're doing something just because it's fun, then you can do it as much as you want without really being tired or bored or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, for us, like, the initial spark that made us even start this channel was just to document our travels for ourselves, for our family, for, potentially our future kids, like that kind of stuff, just documenting our life, and I think that in itself is just like such a passionate thing, like just having that for the future. Like, I think that's a very beautiful thing. So just that is always at the core of, what we're doing. So
afterwards, after filming or after recording, do you see sometimes pictures that you think, oh, that's much greater than I thought as I recorded it in the moment? Because I think if you look in your phone and film something, not every time you think, okay, it's a good picture, it's a good recording, because you're standing there and only see the small screen, see the full picture in front of you, and think, okay, the recording isn't much that big as I expect. Yeah. And when you see it and think, okay, it's much better than I thought.
Yeah, I think there's two layers to that. The first is that sometimes when you see it, you're reminded of how amazing that place was, and maybe you kind of, in the moment, weren't appreciating it as much as you do when you see it later. But also, the drawback of trying to do that kind of stuff when you travel is that you're not always 100% in the moment. So if you're focusing on filming or photos or whatever, then you might not fully take in, wow, what an incredible place this is, and be completely mindful of it. So then later on, when you're reminded that I was actually here, that's also a pretty cool feeling. Because
that's the flip side of it too, right? Because you might not be 100% present in the moment, but then you have that, afterwards to look back on. And I think that's the kind of trade-off you have, right? But I think for us, at the end of the day, it's worth it to be able to have that, as a document for the future as well.
And you could also do a 50-50 traveling time and filming time at the same place where you are, right? And you could say, well, we take an hour to film and then we have the rest of the day just for us to enjoy our trip.
Yeah, exactly. That tends to be more, okay, we'll go home and work.
Yeah,
a little bit, right?
That's our time of enjoyment. Sitting in the hotel room or Airbnb.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you don't cut your recordings in the land where you are. You cut it in Sweden.
Well, wherever, it depends on where we are in the sequence. So we always try to record or to edit everything in in chronological order. So it depends on where we are. When that video needs to go live. So yeah, it can be anywhere, but usually not in the same country because it's always a little delayed. Obviously, it's really funny actually because always when we post a video, there's always going to be someone or a few people who are like, oh, while you're here you need to go there and there and there, and like, sorry, like we were there like a month, 2-3 months ago, it's not live. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's the reality of it, because it takes a while, and especially if you have a lot of videos to edit, obviously you can't do it in real time.
Yeah, and when you travel, more than a few months a year, you also, well, for people like us who work online, it becomes kind of, okay, we'll go out and do stuff from 10 to 4 or something, and then we'll work a little bit in the morning and work in the evening, because you have to get stuff done also. It's not constant vacation. So, and also, as you probably know, when you go to a city, it's not the same feeling as vacation. It's kind of tiring and work to walk around and see everything.
It's like a job. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's a hot place. So it's obviously super, super fun, but you work in the morning, you go out, you're walking, then you get home and you're working more. So it's very, very non-stop, which is why also it's nice sometimes to come to Sweden. Or this year, due to the pandemic, we also discovered that we can go to New York, where I have family, and stay there and take a break, which was also a really nice contrast. So yeah, take some time to slow down somewhere.
And how was New York during a pandemic? Can you explain?
Well,
Still more to do than Sweden.
yeah, I don't know
Probably.
if you know how Sweden has been, or if you've heard any headlines.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we all had ups and downs,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
So-
but we talked about the Swedish way of managing a pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
I think I call it like that. And some people look and think they make it good. Some people think they make it bad. I don't know. It's difficult to make the right way in such a special situation.
yeah.
I think Sweden didn't really have a lot of restrictions. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember
basically
exactly.
nothing.
And no
Yeah.
masks or anything.
Okay.
Like they were recommending against masks in the beginning and everything. You know, it's just a bit of a let's not put a label on it, but yeah.
Yeah, so coming to New York was kind of nice because this was as cases were going up a lot here. And in New York, it felt like a nice middle ground. Restaurants opened after we'd been there for like 1 week. So we only had 1 week of bad restrictions. But then, you know, everything was open like normal. You just had to wear a mask and that was fine, especially because it was snowy and cold. So we realized that, wow, it's actually kind of nice to wear masks outside when it's snowy and cold.
Yeah.
Your face doesn't get cold. So we really enjoyed it. Got to spend lots of time with my grandma and quality. So she was vaccinated since they were doing it so early in the US.
She's 93 years old, so
Yeah.
Wow.
she's a real
Great.
powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was nice also. And that was almost like a slow travel experience for us. Even though I spent a lot of time there since I have family, it was still a very, very special thing to get to do and get a very different perspective on life in a pandemic in another country.
Yeah, we've seen a few TikTok videos since we, enjoy TikTok. And it was so, such a different view on at least Manhattan, which is always overcrowded with millions of people, literally. So it was very spooky to see no one.
Yeah, which was
Actually,
which
no
was so nice. Like we could go
Yeah,
anywhere
I
and there's
bet.
no people and it's just calm and you don't have to, push your way through a bunch of people who don't know where they're going, like that type of stuff, that's also like an interesting perspective you get staying there longer, where you really appreciate, the difference between a place being over, 50% tourists or more in some locations, versus just being locals who know what they're doing. That is kind of an interesting lesson on the effects of tourism and how nice it is for some places when it goes away a bit.
Yep.
So we were talking about rules in Sweden. In Germany, we had a lot of rules too for the pandemic. Sometimes a difference between Cologne and Düsseldorf at the same time about the rules. It's very difficult to know the right rule at the right place. How do you get your information about the rules when you travel to a country?
Yeah, that's the most stressful part.
If there only was one source, one single source, no.
Yeah.
It's a collection of many different sources, usually.
I mean, even still now, travel is 10 times more difficult and complicated than it was before. So it's a huge bummer, but luckily there have come more resources. In the beginning, it was really impossible to figure stuff out. But now there's some really great resources, like one called Sherpa. People can Google Sherpa travel restrictions, SHERPA. It's amazing because you enter where you're from, you enter your passport, if you're vaccinated or not, and you get a big map of exactly where I can travel. Actually, I think that Lufthansa has done an integration with that on their website. That makes it so much easier to figure out because they color code different countries based on if there's no restrictions, if you're vaccinated, if you just need a test. So that has been kind of life-changing for us.
I mean, we also usually double check it towards other sources. Like we usually look at the IATA travel map, for example, the IATA, what does it stand for? International
Air Travel Association.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. They have a travel map where essentially you press a country and it says these are the restrictions, these nationalities can enter versus not and stuff. So
yeah. And another good resource if people want it is also actually the US embassies in different countries have really good information. So you can Google US Embassy, Tanzania COVID restrictions. And then the top thing is travel. So even though it's mainly for US citizens, usually many countries have the same rules. So you can check, okay, this is what I need, and you can compare it to Sherpa to make sure you have everything. Because one thing I've discovered, or we've discovered traveling around, is that sometimes flights seem quite full, and then you get on board, like when you're selecting seats and stuff, and then you get on board, and some of the seats that were supposed to be taken are not taken. So what happened to those people? They probably didn't have the right tests or didn't have the right papers. So there's a lot of people who are being denied because they don't have the right information. So you really have to double and triple check if you're going to go somewhere outside Europe, especially. Stress.
Yeah, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Wow.
2021. Yeah.
Problems.
Yep.
Yeah, yes, but
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
but I think so. You have stress at the check-in and
Yeah.
the check control check. Have I the right papers?
Yeah.
Is everything fine? And
Takes 2 hours longer.
yes,
And staff, they didn't sign up for this, and now they're sitting there, and they also have to check every single rule for every passenger because they change every day. So it's just a constant stress for them. And then, you know, sometimes changes can occur while you're transiting somewhere. So if you're flying from Cologne to South Africa via Dubai, you might get to Dubai and suddenly South Africa has closed its borders. And you're like, okay, what now? So it's really constant chaos, but you learn to live with it. And if you want to do it, then of course it's possible to go almost anywhere.
That's also something like for us now. I mean, we usually don't plan anything more than like a week ahead of time, you know, because otherwise there's such a high risk of it, like a flight getting canceled or something not working out, you know, like with travel restrictions changing or anything like that. So yeah, that's also the reality of traveling in 2021.
Did you have trouble so far with it, or did everything go good for you?
Very well prepared, as well prepared as we could. There was just one time in January when we were going to fly from Gothenburg to New York. And at 10 p.m., the night before our flight left at 6 a.m., Denmark introduced that you needed to have a test just for transit.
Because we were transiting in Copenhagen.
Yeah. So this was 8 hours before our flight. The SAS call lines had closed, the airline, so we couldn't reach them. And we were like, okay, we don't have a test. So how are we going to work this out? So luckily their call center in the US was open. So I called them on Skype. I told them the situation and they said, okay, we can rebook you the next day if you hurry and go get a test tomorrow. So we were there, we'd packed, everything was ready. We had that, that stress you have before an early morning flight. And suddenly it's like, oh, okay, we'll be home tomorrow also, and we'll just have to arrange a test. So that was definitely a very stressful experience in the moment. But it also,
but it's a fun story in retrospect.
Yeah, it taught us even more to just be spontaneous and to not count on being anywhere until we are through passport control on the spot. Okay, now we've arrived, but before then, you never know what's going to happen.
The good news is that it will be better in the next months.
We really hope
month.
so.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I'm very, I'm very optimistic.
We are always optimistic and we hope for the best, but we've had our hearts broken so many times now by places saying they'd open and then.
Oh.
But now Germans, for example, can visit Singapore, which is incredible because Singapore was one of the strictest places and they've opened up just for Germans and people from Brunei, 2 countries.
Oh, wow. Okay. Why that?
They did
Why
some agreements
Germans?
with the government.
Why?
Because they want all types of information to verify, I think. So they trusted the German government. They trusted that you guys are very proper.
Ordnung muss sein.
Yeah, exactly. You guys get the honor. So if there's any Germans who miss Singapore, you guys can now travel there.
Yeah.
What's the furthest you've ever traveled by train? The furthest away you've gone?
I think it's Vienna.
Vienna, I think so too, yes.
I believe it's
but I had looked for Stockholm.
We even looked at Russia, not Russia, Italy.
Yes,
possible.
Italy is very easy. I think Balkan, Croatia, for example.
Croatia by train.
Because when you're in Vienna, you are very easy at the Croatia or Montenegro.
Yeah, close to it, yes.
Bucharest, Romania.
Yeah.
I saw that I can drive to Romania by train, and Moscow. There's a train, I think once a week in Berlin, which is going to Moscow.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting.
That's the beauty about Europe.
Yeah.
You know? Just being able to hop on pretty much any mode of transportation, and within a few hours, you can be somewhere completely different. I mean, that's I guess like the one, or not the one drawback, but it's quite a big drawback of being in Scandinavia, because you're not necessarily in Europe, so it's always like you're a bit further removed. So you have to like get down to Europe first before you can go, elsewhere, like on the continent.
And when you live in Europe and when you're from Europe, it seems so obvious that the easiest place to go should be your neighboring countries, because there's trains and buses. It's just so easy. But for example, in Africa, it's almost impossible to get between countries. And many times there won't be trains, buses, or planes between neighboring countries. Instead, you have to fly across the continent and then back, connecting flights. It's the most unnecessary and just frustrating thing, because there's not a big enough network. So that creates so much unnecessary travel time, waste, and whatever. And it's a very complicated and oftentimes sort of dangerous thing to cross borders by car. So you can't really do that either, because you might be taken in, you might be detained, or you might need to bribe someone. So that's a situation where you really come to appreciate how easy it is to move around in Europe. Even if you go to countries outside Schengen, it takes 5 minutes of border control in Croatia or wherever it is, and you're in.
And I mean, that's also like, just talking about it's a huge topic, but just talking about like passport privilege and that kind of stuff as well, right? Like, it's so easy for us as Europeans to just, zip around like all around the world, but like within Europe especially. And that's obviously not something that nearly everyone in the world has. So, that's a huge topic to talk about. But like it's such a privilege. It really is.
Yeah. And many countries, as I said, are politically complicated in certain terms. So aren't you afraid of that with all your traveling?
And what type of political complications specifically?
Sometimes you have to look about the culture. I think, okay, you're a man. That's much easier than a woman, especially in Islamic states or something like that. So do you look before you travel what you have to get attention to do nothing wrong, or
don't do inappropriate things?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of become normal for us, even when we're home, to behave in a more conservative way, I'd say, because that's what we've learned to do when we travel. So we will, avoid all public displays of affection, of course. And that kind of just continues to happen while we're at home. And then there's other things, in Southeast Asia or most parts of Asia, actually more in Japan and Korea, it's common to bow. So when we come home to Sweden, we're bowing at everyone, and it takes us a while to realize, oh yeah, we don't
like
bow here.
like a car stops for you to cross the road, and you're just like, okay, bowing. It's like
yeah. But it's there's also, of course, a privileged part of being male, as you said. Also, of being white in many countries is also a privilege, because they don't see you as much of an outsider, because maybe they're more used to white tourists or whatever it is. But the one time we were really unprepared was for something different politically. When we went to Haiti, we booked the flight 5 days before, I think, and 4 days before our trip. So the day after we booked, there was a massive raid in one of the ghettos in Port-au-Prince, and 4 police were killed, which sparked massive protests. And these are not, European style protests. These are protests where people burn buildings, and it's very, very aggressive and very dangerous. So we booked our flights, and we kind of noticed this was happening, but we thought, okay, surely if there's one thing we've learned from travel, it's that whatever is in the news is not what it's actually like on the ground. It's always more dramatic in the news. So it's surely okay. But when we got there, we realized that actually, this is a very, very bad time to be here, and it's very unstable. So it was a super scary trip, actually. We had a guide and everything arranged, and even the guide was kind of paranoid and freaked out about kidnappings and that type of stuff. So that was a case of us being a bit too relaxed about the political and social situation.
I mean, it was also just, I mean, it was the first time that we went to a country that was kind of socially unstable like that, at least on that level. So, I mean, we just weren't experienced enough to handle it, you know? So, I mean, sometimes you learn the hard way, and we definitely did that with Haiti. Absolutely. I think that's it.
Wow. Okay, wow.
But sometimes you can get positive experiences as planned or as thought about a country. I think some of this is, for example, Uzbekistan, because we were surprised about your video too.
Yeah.
And it was a very new view of a land which I only knew about. I've heard it sometimes, but don't have any clear view, no image in my mind about it. And when I saw your video, I thought, wow, what a beautiful land. How can I get there by train? I saw it's not very easy. But for example, I have to take a flight.
We made a train video from Uzbekistan, actually, so you can look at that to get an idea.
I think we got attracted because of your train videos. Yes, the first videos we watched were the Switzerland videos, and since Sebastian is very fond of trains and everything regarding trains, we recognized that.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
And the Glacier
now we are
Express
subscribers.
is very fine.
But
Beautiful view.
yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, it is, like you said, it's more positive surprise than negative. And we haven't been to super conservative countries yet, but anywhere we've been in the Middle East, whether it's Oman or Jordan or Lebanon, or, you know, Uzbekistan, which is also quite a conservative country, the people are some of the kindest in the world towards us, and everyone is super welcoming and hospitable. And there's something so special about going to a place that isn't overrun with tourists, because you get a much more genuine and welcoming experience. People are excited that you're there. And it, especially with Uzbekistan, although you know, I don't want to say like extreme travelers, but people who travel a lot, Uzbekistan has been on their radar for a long time. But for us, we hadn't even thought about going there until maybe February or March. And then we went and we're like, oh, now we see why people have been saying come to Uzbekistan, but it hasn't really reached the mainstream yet because it's such an incredible place. And there's so many little gems like that people have, you know, bad ideas about. They hear something in the news, or they think it's dangerous, or they think it's conservative or something. But if you don't go and experience it yourself, you can't really know, because like I at least don't trust the reporting. The focus is only on negative things about different places.
In a land like Uzbekistan, I think English is not the main language. Do you learn some words of a country? Where do you travel to before you start your journey?
Well, usually hi and thank you. I mean, and like, especially in these kind of less visited places, even stuff like that, like a gesture like saying hello in the local language or saying thank you is so appreciated. Like, you can really see how people's faces lit up when you say that. So like when we were in Uzbekistan, for example, saying rahmat for thank you, it's just like, okay, wow, like thank you for making an effort, you know, because it hasn't been saturated with tourists yet. So it still feels new, that like people are excited about you being there and about you showing effort, you know?
Yeah.
So,
but it's, you realize how much you can communicate just with body language and with pointing and that type of stuff. So even if they don't speak any English, and obviously we don't speak any Uzbek or whatever it might be, you always figure it out. And even if we don't have cell phone data and we can use Translate, it just works somehow. You make it work. You might not get what you thought you'd be getting at a restaurant or something like that, but if you go with the flow and you're chill, then
Yeah.
it's almost always fine. But it is pretty amazing what you can do with just a few words. Like Oscar was learning Arabic a few years ago, quite basic, but we were in Oman and we were at the Grand Mosque in Muscat trying to get to the old town area, and there was no one who spoke any English at all. So even when we said we wanted the name of the neighborhood we wanted to go, he didn't understand. So Oscar then started speaking the very, very limited Arabic that he had. Which he was so happy.
Well, which by the way was like, I was learning the standard Arabic, as they call it, the modern standard Arabic, which is not modern in any sense. It's based on the Quran. So it's like from the 6th century or whenever the Quran was written. So, I kind of sound like an old priest, you know, like when I try to speak Arabic. So, but still, like, I mean, he really appreciated the effort.
And
like,
you managed to
communicate that we were going to this restaurant and wherever we were going. So yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it really is amazing what you can do with just a few words, you know, and especially if you give it time and you have patience, you can do a lot.
I guess that is one thing where if you don't know any of the language, it might take more time to achieve stuff. It might be more frustrating. You always get what you need in the end, but in that type of situation, it was very useful that Oscar knew a little bit of Arabic, because that sped things up and we didn't have as frustrating and slow experience.
And that's another thing. I mean, we're just like going back and forth here now, but I mean, obviously there are languages have different levels of usefulness when you travel, right? Like obviously English is the most useful language when you do international travel, but then after that, you know, you have Spanish, which is useful in all of Latin America and Spain and many other places around the world as well. And then you have, like, for
French,
example, Arabic, you have French, you have Russian, which we've also realized, you know, it's a lingua franca in huge parts of the world. I mean, especially in the former Soviet Union, so in all this much of the Stan countries, Central Asia, in much of Eastern Europe, you know.
We were in Montenegro a few weeks ago, and both our friends spoke Russian, and our kind of boat driver, he spoke better Russian than English. So they were actually talking to him in Russian instead of us speaking to him in English, and that worked out great as well. But that's all the way down by the Mediterranean, so. That's also one of the cool
exactly. So just, I mean, knowing at least a little bit of these, like, really high, like, very spoken languages can help a lot, like a lot more than you'd initially think, you know, because they might be regional lingua francas or like regional common languages that people speak in different regions.
But
you know?
one thing is for sure, Swedish is useless.
It has never been helpful.
Why is it useless?
Except in Helsinki, maybe.
Yeah, and Helsinki was the one place.
But apart from that, no.
Yeah, that's why all Swedish pop acts sing in English, I guess, because no one understands Swedish. Or at least Swedish people.
Well, ABBA sings in English, but with a very strong, charming Swedish accent. So.
It's probably charming for non-Swedes. For us, it's almost all a cringe, but we love it.
Cute.
We love it.
And they did a few Swedish songs as well, I guess, right?
Yeah, you should know, Oscar.
I mean, they a lot of the songs that they eventually recorded in English, they had in Swedish from the beginning. Yeah. Waterloo, for example, that they won Eurovision with, was originally in Swedish, for example. So, you know, there's quite a bit of that.
There's a great documentary on Netflix, which is called, I think, Pop and something. And they have a whole episode on Swedish pop music or Swedish pop acts, which were supported by Swedish producers and stuff. So that's very huge. So yeah, I think Sweden is very popular for that. Besides IKEA and ABBA.
We do furniture and music.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Yeah.
And cars, Volvo, but not
cars,
quite like Germany.
Not quite like Germany. Absolutely not.
And where did you learn German, Oscar?
So I learned it in school.
In school?
Germany.
Ich hab Deutsch in der Schule gelernt.
Wow.
Aber nie in Deutschland gewohnt oder sowas. Aber yeah.
Wow, that's very perfect.
Thank you.
No accent or something like that. You in your videos, we often see you in cities and at landscapes. Sometimes we see a beach or something, but don't hear about your day at the beach. So you are always making things, meeting people, looking for new landscapes, and don't have a free day off at the beach?
Well, I don't know. Because we don't really love the beach in that sense. Like, it's nice to go swimming. We love to go swimming in the Swedish lakes, but just laying on the beach, for me, it's too hot, too sandy.
And it's also like we get really paranoid about the sun, you know, like we just put on every single like SPF clothing piece we have and like all that kind of stuff, you know. So it's not necessarily like as relaxing as we would want it to be, you know.
Yeah. And then many times I feel like maybe we're kind of beach snobs because we go to beaches and there's either we're like, oh, this is a beautiful beach, but there's too many people. Or you go to the beach and there's, you know, you have to lay on rocks or something and then there's no toilets or food. And so it's hard. It's very hard to find a good beach. I don't understand how people do it. Or maybe people just, you know, accept it and just lay down. But many times we're kind of like,
Yeah, go to the Netherlands. They have a lot of good beaches.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Not crowded?
Okay.
Well, it's pretty German there too, on the beaches. But I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crowded, I think.
when it's the high season, it's crowded, yes. But when you go like in the middle of, I don't know, between summer and autumn, for example, they are not too crowded.
Yeah. I guess the problem with that is that the weather is not a guarantee, right? So you might go on beach vacation.
Yeah, that's true.
And the water is also not the warmest, right? Because it's the Atlantic Ocean.
But we
So
should actually see it. That would be very
no, absolutely. But I was going to say, like, we just came back from Ireland. And I mean, we had no idea that there were such beautiful beaches on Ireland. Like, we found the most gorgeous beaches, like white sand, surrounded by mountains and like fields with like cows walking around. You know, it's just beautiful. And the water is completely clear. So, I mean, you can find hidden gems like that pretty much anywhere in the world. And like, you would never think of Ireland as a beach destination, but it could be in its own way, you know, obviously not like, you know, like you would go down to the Mediterranean and spend like every day on the beach, like not like that, but it's still, you know, it's a.
You could do that there, but it would be very random.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, you do you, yeah. But yeah,
Ireland. Oh, but in Sweden we're more lake people, and Sweden has so many lakes. Just where we live in this little town, there's 4 or 5 lakes within walking distance. So that's what we like. And then in Sweden, we have a law called allemansrätten, which means like kind of every man's right to the land. So if someone's house is not there, you can pretty much go anywhere. You can set up a tent anywhere for one night. You can, you know, so we've found all types of little coves where we can be completely alone and lay in the shade and go in the water. And it's close enough to walk home, so that's pretty nice. But of course, being in Sweden, we have the weather challenge as well, that there's never a guarantee of good weather.
Yeah, sometimes you're lucky, but, you know, that's far from always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have something special in Sweden. I think we can talk about it because there is a time in the year where you don't have much sun, I think, if you live in the north. How do you feel in this month when this time is, what do you do? What do you think about? I know it's not about travel.
I'm just wondering how the time is called in German, but yeah, what is it?
We only know a word for the time in the summer when the sun is always there, midsummer. But we don't know a word for the other time.
I don't even know what that is in Swedish.
You usually just say like 24 hours of darkness, you know?
Okay.
I think that would be the way. But I mean, where we live quite far south. I mean, in Gothenburg. So, I mean, the shortest days will be the sun rises. It might get light at say around 9:30 or so.
No. 9 at the latest, I think, down here.
Well, yeah, it depends.
Yes.
Like, it depends on what you define as light. Because the thing is, many days it'll get like light in quotation marks, but it won't necessarily get light. You know, like it's still very, dimmed. But then the sun might set at like 3:30 or something like that in the afternoon.
I wonder how big the difference is between here and Cologne. Like maybe it's not huge.
I think we have 2 or 3 hours a day, I think, at winter.
Yeah. I think it gets light at around, I don't know, 7:30, 8 in the morning, or 8 8:30. I think the latest, and then we have a very light day, a normal normal light day, and the sun goes down 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
In winter. So
how do you guys feel about winters? Do you like them? You think they're cozy, or you don't?
Yes and no. I think cozy, the time when you are at home on the sofa under a blanket watching a movie is very cozy. But
meeting friends outside for a drink.
Yeah,
or,
blue wine.
Yes.
Winter market. That's nice.
Yeah, the winter markets in Germany are great.
Yeah. That's nice, but I don't really need 2 cold days. I mean, where my mother lives in Eastern Germany, we can get like minus 20 degrees sometimes. Do you do degrees in Sweden? I guess yes, right?
Of course.
So she has minus 20 degrees in some winters. We in Cologne, I think, do have minus 10 sometimes, but it's pretty warm here. So we are not going under zero often. So
do you usually get snow?
No, not a lot.
In Cologne, there is not very often snow, very, very rare.
We have
every 3 years, we have one day with snow.
We have the Eifel nearby, which is,
we have many mountains.
It's mountains.
There.
It's basically mountains and wood, and they get a lot of snow in winter, but we here, downtown Cologne, do not really. Yeah. I mean, the last time I saw snow here is 10 to 12 years ago. And it was like, and I talk like 30, 40 centimeters snow.
But around Cologne, there is snow.
Yeah.
Cologne is a very small city with many people, so the snow has no chance to
survive.
Yes.
It melts very fast, so we have a lot of mud and not a lot of snow. Do you get snow a lot in winter?
Well, so that's the thing. Like when we were young, like when we were growing up, we would always get snow, and that would be, the thing to get you through winter, right? Because if it's that dark, at least it's white on the ground, so like it doesn't feel as heavy on the soul. But now, I mean, these days we would usually maybe get snow, like say in January for like 2 weeks or something, or some years we might get a little more than that, but like it's getting to that point now where it's, we're getting it a lot less frequently. And then when you have, the dark days and you don't have any like snow on the ground or anything, and everything's just, there's no leaves on the trees, there's no nothing, and everything is just 50 shades of gray, quite literally, It's, it's not ideal for your mental health,
But my brother's ex-girlfriend, she was from the north of Sweden, not all the way north. So they had maybe 1 or 2 hours of daylight where she lived. And she moved down here to be with my brother a couple of years ago. And she thought winters were much worse down here than up there. Even though we had much more light, she said not having snow totally ruins it for her because it feels so gloomy. But when you have the snow, you look out and it's kind of bright still. So that's, but then again, we have one friend who also worked and lived in Svalbard in Norway, which is islands up by the Arctic. So it's separated from Scandinavia. And they, of course, had 24 hours of darkness and like for 3 or 4 months. And she said that was very, very tough. She had to get all types of, indoor lights that are supposed to simulate the sun. And then they have a big festival when the sun comes back to celebrate the first time it goes over the horizon.
Entire village just like gets together and they stand on this like staircase where like the sun hits over the mountains. But it was really interesting because she said that all the locals up there, essentially they like the winter season more than the summer season, because having 24 hours of light can also be kind of a curse, like when you want to go to sleep and it's like it's 1 a.m. and it feels like 1 p.m. still, because like there's no difference in the light conditions.
Because it's really, really weird up there. We visited her in 2017 in July, and it's not, because in the north of Sweden, it's kind of at like midnight, it feels a little bit like early sunset. Like there's no colors, but the sun is sort of low. But up there in Svalbard, the sun was really still up in the sky, high up. So it could have been the middle of the day. So we landed at 1 a.m. and it looks so weird seeing the photos because it looks just like the middle of any day. And it's a really weird feeling waking up and needing to go to the bathroom, and you look outside and it's like, oh, how late did I sleep? And you check your watch and it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And it makes your body super
Crazy.
So, yeah. Exactly.
I think you have to get used to that.
Yeah.
I think my favorite time of the year is just the in between. Yeah. I think autumn and spring, because the temperature is not too high, not too low. It's not too cold. I can't cope with heat.
Yeah.
So I think my 25 degrees is good, and a little bit of sun.
Yeah.
That makes me happy and comfortable. Yeah.
But that's also a fun element of travel, that you can, if you've been to one place during the autumn, but not the spring, you can go back and it feels like a completely different place.
Mm-hmm.
So we lived in Korea for 4 months in the autumn one time, or 2 years ago. And then we went back in the autumn because it was so beautiful at the time where the leaves are the nicest. But, going back in the spring, I'm sure would feel completely different. We're going to Japan in the spring, compared to the winter is also, of course, completely different. So that's like an add-on, the next step to travel to the same places at different times.
Should we play a game?
Yeah.
Would you like to play a game? Would you like to play a game?
Sounds a little bit kinky.
Yes, I know.
Would you like to play a game?
Okay.
Okay, things are going downhill. We are stopping this now. Okay, bye.
No. But I thought it's a good moment for a short quiz.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes. We thought that we can play a small game about language. Of course. Would you like to explain?
We basically have 4 German words, which are hopefully not too complicated to guess for Oskar and Dan. And maybe they have some Swedish words for us too.
And we try to guess the words or the meaning.
Guess the words, the meanings. Yeah.
So, of course, German is famous for complicated words, which are built by many words you can hang together and get monster words like that. Not such words. But at the end, we have one special word, which is the best word for our podcast today.
Yes.
Should we start with a German word?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. When we start with Pumpernickel.
Yes. What could that be?
Do you know it?
Isn't that a word in English too? Pumpernickel.
It's a loan word. Well, I don't know what it means, but it is a type of bread, at least in like a Pumpernickel.
Oh,
it is like a rye bread.
No, is it
like
like
that, right?
pumpkin seeds or something?
No. It is like a
pumpkin
very
seed bread or something like that.
No, Oscar's right. Yeah, Oscar's right. It is
like a rye
bread. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so it has nothing to do with seeds.
No. Well, with rye seeds, if you will, with rye seeds. Yes, very
similar to the Danish. I don't know if you even call it that or have that in Germany, like the very dark. Danish,
I think that's like the Scandinavian version of Pumpernickel.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's very dark and heavy.
Yeah.
Should we go on with a German word or yes?
Well, yeah. Oskar and Dan tell us the Swedish one first.
Let's see. Slutstation.
Oh.
Whew.
Which is spelled. We'll spell it out for you. So it's SLUTSTATION.
That makes it a bit easier.
Could you repeat, please?
Slutstation.
Okay. Wow.
I look on the sheet of paper. Oh.
Is it something to eat? Is it food? No.
That would be difficult.
Okay. Is it something you can wear?
It is not.
It's a place.
Okay. It's a place.
But not like it's
seaside?
Just one place. No. Think about the last part. Station. What could that be? Station.
Wow. I'm very bad at this.
Yes, I
How about if we say
Stachun.
what is it in German? Stach.
It's Bahnhof. Oh, well, I know I said it. Yeah, well.
Okay.
So station is Haltestelle. Or
Oh yeah, okay.
Bahnhof.
Yeah. Like station.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Ach,
Station,
of course,
yeah.
Station. So
Slutstation.
Sloot. Okay. Is it a
train.
train?
But
A
I think-
short train and an express train, a small train.
Both.
Okay, I think we need a new perspective.
Well, I guess we should just tell
we'll
you.
tell you. Slut means end, so it's end station. Final.
Oh yeah,
Of
okay.
course.
But the reason it's kind of become like a meme is because it sounds like slut station in English.
I don't,
Yeah. Yeah. Now that you say, yeah. Okay.
All right,
Okay.
that's it. You guys go.
okay. Grenzenlos.
I know this.
Oh, you do?
Grenzenlos.
Okay, but Grenz must be like Grenz,
Yeah.
border. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Los, is that law?
Very close.
Oh, without.
Yeah.
So
Like-
borderless.
Yes.
Yes.
Figured it out.
Exactly.
In Germany, you can use it in two ways. Of course, like there's no border, or the other is think grenzenlos.
there's no limit.
No limit.
think about,
No
yes,
limit,
there's no limit.
Awesome.
And
Limitless, yeah.
yes.
Grenzenlos.
Grenzenlos. Like Lexi Grenzenlos.
Yeah.
There's the youngest person to travel to every country in the world is called Lexi Limitless. Like that's her
Oh, yeah.
online name. So she would be Lexi Grenzenlos.
Yes.
We have two.
Nice.
We have two really famous Swedish words that maybe you guys have heard.
Uh-huh.
They're kind of concepts, but the first one is. Oscar, you want to say?
Fika.
Repeat.
I don't want to repeat it because
Different, please.
in
Repeat,
German we
please.
have very similar words, but I think we have a different meaning.
Yeah.
Fika. F-I-K-A.
Fika.
Okay.
If I
Don't
can.
make it better.
It's a nickname for IKEA. No.
I think of finca, if I think a bit
If-
more.
You can fika at IKEA.
I was going to say, yeah.
Shopping?
No.
Is it shopping?
No.
Is it eating?
It does involve eating, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's impossible.
Yeah,
to get
it's
an event.
Swedish
It's a concept. It's basically, so fika is sitting down with someone else with like a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, and
Oh yes.
a bun.
yeah.
Usually that would be it, or like
Oh yeah.
some biscuits or something like that. And it's like a huge concept, you know, like if,
Swedish fika. Yeah.
exactly. If you like when you're like during a normal work day, you'll have fika before noon, and then you'll have fika after lunch, and then like afternoon fika. Like there's a lot of breaks, you know.
Okay, cool. I think we do is quite similar thing on Sundays. Coffee and cake.
Yes, but I thought.
Sounds really plain, but it's coffee and cake.
Yes, it's more describing, and fika is a word for it. I think
Yeah,
it's very.
Yeah, exactly.
It's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
So
it.
whenever you just sit down to have, it has to kind of be a coffee or tea or something, and some sort of bread pastry thing. Then it's a fika, and people do this every single day. So not just on Sundays, but several times a day, every day usually. But I don't think everyone is eating buns several times a day.
I hope they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it too. We should
adopt it.
invent that too. Yeah.
Yes.
Adopt it. Yes. Nice.
Should we take
Do we
which
take
of
the
which?
bad or the good one?
Yeah,
I vote
okay, we can take a bad one. Yeah, no, it's not. It's all, if you
It's
you
not,
hear
not bad in the sense of, I don't know.
but you can use it
Yeah.
in many ways.
It's not a positive word, I'd say, for some people.
yes.
If you think of murder, it's
we
not
try
a,
it.
if you
We
think
try
of murder, it's not a positive word. So
that's too much hints. Okay.
should I say
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Say it.
Kettensäge?
Ketten was?
Kettensäge.
Kettensäge.
I have to look for a translation, I think.
Yeah.
Just the bad word.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the bad word.
Säge, like, is that like a...
And we have an umlaut, which makes it, which
Säge.
doesn't make it really easy for you. Yeah.
Kettensäge, okay. Oh wait, so like a sayer of some sort. Ketten, whatever ketten means. I don't know what ketten means.
It's a thing.
Kettensäge.
And we had the translation in Swedish, so I think
Wow.
yours is a much better description for
Yeah.
for the thing.
Really?
So
It's not like
We are more technical, and you are more visible for all.
Yeah.
What it means or what it is. Okay, but
think
that's not
this-
a hint which help you.
in Swedish, is more obvious than the German version
yes.
of it.
what do you call like a
What could Kette be? Ketten.
like someone who tells on someone?
Is it someone who like tells someone secrets? No.
No.
No, it's
It's a tool, basically.
for the garden, for example.
Yeah.
For the garden, but it can be used to murder someone, probably.
Yes.
Oh,
It
so
could
it's like,
be,
what's it?
yeah.
Saw.
Like a chainsaw.
Like a chainsaw. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
That's it?
Yeah.
Kettensäge.
Motorsag.
Motorsåg.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't.
Swedish for beginners.
Yes. Very far away, but okay.
But I think the motor makes it more
Yeah.
clear to everyone than the Ketten, the chain.
it's chain, okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's just because you said murder that we could guess that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Oh god.
that would be like yeah, I know.
Kettensäge massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's the German version of it. I don't know if you know that, but most of our movies are getting German
Yes.
titles or getting dubbed as well. So
With sometimes with very
they have very
different,
strange, they're very
types.
strange names.
We can do one more very iconic
Yeah,
Swedish
yeah.
word, which is law.
Of course, yes.
Lagom. Sounds like when I think about English, law, the law.
The law, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it N at the end or M?
M.
M.
M
yeah.
for Mike.
Mm-hmm.
For Merkel.
Not for too long, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. What could that be?
Is it a city?
Because it's not
it's
translatable.
very difficult. Exactly. It's very difficult. It's
We just wanted to teach everyone what this is. Lagom.
which it's an entire like Swedish concept. It means not too much, not too little, but just the perfect amount.
Okay.
So, for example, like, I mean, old people will use it all the time. I mean, everyone uses it, but like especially like my grandmother, for example, like you'll ask her, oh, how much like of this ingredient do I put in the like buns when I make the cinnamon buns? And she's like, oh, lagom. Like she won't tell you an exact amount. It's just like, okay, like lagom, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's a very, like just it's a concept of balance, you know?
Exactly.
And it's very rooted in the Swedish culture. Like everything we do is just lagom. Like not too extravagant.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Everything's just, you know, like the golden middle way kind of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of books about it. It's really
Okay.
good to know, because maybe when you're in a bookstore next time, you'll see a book that says living according to lagom or something. But we don't, I think a lot of young people kind of believe in it a bit less because
Yeah.
everyone's a bit more, Americanized or whatever. But yeah, for me, I appreciate the word, but the concept itself, I think, is almost a bit oppressive in a way in Sweden. It's like, you can only be lagom successful, just enough. You can only be lagom loud, or everything has to be, just keep it right in the middle.
Which works very well for building a successful society. But I mean, for the individual, sometimes it can be, a little, I guess, repressive or limiting, if all your dreams are lagom, like, that's the kind of path you'll have.
Sometimes you need some spirit to get a bit more than lagom.
Exactly.
Not the highest, but a bit more than lagom to reach
Yeah.
the goal.
I don't know if we have that.
I
No, we
think
don't
not.
know.
We can
We just-
learn so much.
We're just swearing all the time and
Yes.
about weather, about
Yeah.
about illnesses.
And we are very technically and bureaucratically. So we come to our last word, which
Yes.
is some of these technical and bureaucratical words.
Yeah, right. And maybe we can spoil that it has to do with traveling.
Okay.
to not make it too complicated.
Yes.
It's like,
Koffer.
And I thought this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it's this one. Okay.
Okay.
It's long and it's Reiserücktrittsversicherung.
Oh, okay. I understand.
Yes, you know it.
okay, so
I kind of
Reise,
understand
of
that.
course, is travel. What are the other parts? Say it slowly.
Rücktrittsversicherung.
That last word doesn't sound like a real word. It sounds like someone in Friends trying to speak German.
Or Swedish.
Reiserücktrittsversicherung.
Yeah. It's an umlaut in there, which is complicated, maybe.
Versich. I can't even pronounce it.
No.
It was very good.
Sicherung.
Försäkring,
Yeah, there you go.
insurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, and the third word.
Middle word.
Rücktritt.
Yeah, the middle word.
Rück.
That's difficult.
Come back.
Yeah. Kind of.
Okay, you're gonna have to.
Well, I'm wondering,
Yes,
so
almost.
Reiserücktrittsversicherung, so travel, like return travel insurance, or like
Yeah,
I'm trying to
something like
find
that.
exactly what it would mean, but something like
It's an insurance before you travel. If you get ill or something like that and cannot go to travel, you can make a Reiserücktrittsversicherung to get your money back if
Which
you
is very
can't
German, I
travel.
guess.
Yes.
so Rücktritt as in like the money
You
gets
can-
back.
Genau, you
It's
can.
refunded. Okay.
Yes.
I think the literal translation would be travel step back insurance. In case you cannot go on your travel. I don't know.
To get your money back. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
very complicated because you only get your money back if the moon stands in the fourth house of
Like,
some suns on another universe or something like that. It's for the Germans which are afraid of, I can miss my travel,
Urlaub.
my holiday. Yes.
yeah.
The best time of the year. I want my money back.
I have
Please.
to go to Mallorca.
Yes.
So
We have a word for this, but not for fika. So you see the different cultures of European countries.
Yes. And Mallorca is basically called our 17th federal state, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Germany.
But the British, I think, see it also.
yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like a mini war in Mallorca. Who's
the biggest national, the most represented nationality. I went there, just like pretty much most people in Northern Europe. We went there when I was little, my family.
Yeah.
And then I went with my sister as well. I surprised her with a trip there. But yeah, we haven't actually been together. You haven't been.
No, I've never been to Mallorca. But yeah, we can do our last word, which is related
Yes.
to what we're doing now. Ljudinspelning.
That's all right.
Okay, something with spelling with accent or something like that. Yeah. Spelling.
Ljudinspelning. Ljudinspelning.
Is there speaking in there?
Sort of, but
Well,
also
no,
not
not
really.
really.
Not really, no.
Is it similar in German? Inspelning.
I don't think it would be.
Ljud.
Yud is completely different.
Yeah, I know. So, so
Is it a J?
Or it's
it's
an-
LJUD.
But if you think about it as
Yeah.
the L, it's more similar to German. So if you think about it just in terms of the L, Yud. But it's, it's
Can you
pronounced
pronounce it in like a German way?
in like a German way, like a German accent.
You.
I'm trying to imagine what that would be like.
I think it don't.
Spelung. Yeah, that doesn't work.
So Ljud, should we?
Yeah, I think it's...
Okay, it's related more to the podcast. Let's say that.
Mm-hmm. Is it loud?
It's similar to that. Like, think about laut auf Deutsch. That's the right
Is it
direction.
a speaker? Loud?
Not really.
No?
Or a setting for a speaker or a headphone or something like that. Regulator,
Wow.
So
button for it.
What does that mean?
Like in German, that means like either it's loud or it can also be like a sound, right? Like
Yeah.
Yes.
like I'm
Yeah.
loud
I mean, yeah.
So it's set you to sound. So it's sound something.
or audio.
Audio.
No?
Kind of. Okay, so ljudinspelning, audio recording.
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
Can't be that easy.
whoa.
All right.
Okay, we have to,
Maybe that's
for the next time we have to
Yeah.
take a Swedish course. Swedish class.
good. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
No.
Unless you really, really want to move to Sweden, there's no point.
A lot of people here everyone speaks English and a lot of people speak German too. So.
And most people will just immediately switch over to English as soon as they realize you're not from Sweden, which is it makes it very difficult for foreigners who move here to like learn Swedish, and integrate into society, because people are just so comfortable in English and they would rather switch over, to make the other person feel comfortable. So it's like, it's well intentioned, but it becomes kind of a hindrance for people to learn the language.
Yeah.
So.
It's pretty much the same in the Netherlands. I mean, we speak a few words of Dutch, which is great and they appreciate it. But as soon as they recognize you being from Germany or from wherever, they switch to English or even to German. So it's quite the same. Yeah.
But for French, use French. For France, use
For
French.
France, use French.
It's very, very important to speak French in France.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Or at least try to make an effort. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
so
So,
we walk the line
yeah, we are
to the line in our document.
approaching the line of the end. So, but first,
Yes.
as we all know so far, and all the listeners, you are from Sweden. We've never been to Sweden yet. What are your recommendations to visit Sweden? What places do we have to see, or do our listeners have to see? What do we have to do to eat?
Yeah, great question.
Go.
It depends what you like, of course. Sweden is great for people who love nature. It's not in the same way as Norway or Switzerland, but those places are more expensive, obviously. And you can go to the very north of Sweden and hike, and it's great because we do have this law. I said allemansrätten, which means you can pretty much put up a tent anywhere. So you're really free to explore and go wherever you want. In the south of Sweden, we have a province called Skåne. It's the southernmost place. You can drive or take a train or bus, whatever, over from Copenhagen. It's super easy and close. And that is our favorite part of the country. It's so beautiful.
Has the nicest beaches. I mean, it's almost completely flat. So it's a very different landscape from the rest of the country, which is mostly forested. And, there's like hills and the lakes and stuff. So it's a very like peaceful place, and especially in the summer when you have like almost 24 hours of at least some light, it's really magical. But yeah, just going to the lakes, like that's really our favorite thing to do.
Yeah, you need a car, and Stockholm is, in our opinion, the only city that's maybe worth a visit.
The only big city.
Yeah, you can of course see Gothenburg or Malmö, which are the other two big cities, or other places, but Stockholm is the only city that's really competitive with anywhere else you could go abroad. But yeah, you want to come to Sweden for the nature. So you can go to Stockholm if you like city stuff, but then it's really good to have a car or something so you can go around and see if you find some nice lakes or, there's not many hills in this part of Sweden or mountains, but yeah,
there's also like, if you go up to a city called Östersund, I don't know how we try like say it so it's easy to write it down, but like Ostersund basically, with an O. Quite close to there's it's a ski resort called Orte, with a ring, Scandinavian ring, RE. And in the summer it's also really nice. You can go hiking and it's like a really beautiful little village and stuff. There's also a pretty nice city, I think, called Jönköping, which is JONKOPING. And it's right by one of Sweden's largest lakes, and it has like a beautiful little beach, which is actually quite nice, and the water is really clear and stuff. So, you know, there's
and when you're there, you want to go to the to a little town called Gränna, which is actually nicer than Jönköping. It's Grannna or something.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful little place. But yeah, I mean, the iconic foods in Sweden are Swedish meatballs. We're both vegan, but IKEA and many places here make amazing vegan Swedish meatballs nowadays. One of our favorite things is also a cake called princess cake, which you can't really buy in other places. It's a sponge cake with jam and vanilla custard with a thick layer of whipped cream and then marzipan on top. And it's an amazing combo. That's available everywhere.
That sounds amazing.
We eat a lot of like cinnamon buns and that type of stuff.
Oh yes.
What else do we have? People eat a lot of like seafood, like little shrimps.
Here in Gothenburg, especially. Shrimp sandwiches. Shrimp sandwiches are huge here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's no good vegan substitute for that.
Yeah, it's hard to make that vegan actually. But,
yeah, but the other stuff. And what else?
Like, I mean, if you go to Gränna, the little town that we were talking about before, they make like ancient recipes basically of polka. Like, what would you call it? Like candy canes, essentially, which is like also an old Swedish tradition that they have there. So
yeah, but I'm sure it's kind of like that in Germany too. That most Swedes don't eat so much Swedish food anymore. We eat Thai food and Mexican food and whatever else, and that's what people cook at home.
Yeah.
Of course, Italian. So people don't really come here because they're like super into the food culture or whatever. So you don't have to stress about that necessarily.
There's also, if you go to the north, there's fermented herring. It's like a huge thing. So like if you go, I think sometime I guess it's right around now, like in the fall, they'll have like you'll walk around town or whatever, and you'll feel this stench of just like the rotten fish smell.
Oh my God.
Which is like a delicacy, you know. But I mean, for foreigners especially, like you might actually throw up from just the smell, you know. It's crazy. So yeah, there's weird stuff like that as well.
Nice.
That's Sweden.
Sounds good.
We write the tips into the blog post of this show.
Everything will go into our blog post of this episode. I have just one last question because I think we didn't really ask that in the beginning, and that is what made you decide to travel on a constant basis and maybe drop the life you had before?
It's so weird to say it was like one book or one thing, but I think at least for me, and I feel like I kind of gave you the idea or pushed you. It was
a very gradual process for both of us, you know, and it was kind of a slippery slope.
But there was actually, it's so stupid. It's this very famous finance book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where he talks about this mentality of everyone is so, in English, it's risk averse. Basically, you do everything in your life to avoid as much risk as possible, and you want to be safe, and you want to make sure that I get the safest education and the safest job just so that I don't have to worry about my finances or my future, that type of thing. But by doing that, we miss out on so many opportunities by always taking the safe path. So when I read that, I started thinking about what decisions am I making in my life that are just because it's safe and not actually because I want to do it. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually in college for that reason. I don't actually want to be studying this. I don't want to be studying at all because I've already created my own income online. So what do I need this for? And that's what kind of encouraged me to think, wait, instead of preparing for some life down the line, why not just live it as much as we can now and do what we can straight away? And I think that's a really important message we try to teach people, to not postpone living until sometime in the future when you have more money or when you're more prepared. If there's something you want to do or something you dream of doing, you can do it now. Like pretty much most people can. You just figure it out along the way.
Yeah. 100%. No, 100% agreed. I think just like more concretely in terms of how it happened, like we, after high school, we took a gap year and we started traveling then even before college. So we'd already like kind of gotten a taste of what it was like, to be on the road, full time. But then, the college that we both actually went to, we went to the same university, was a completely like newly started like startup university. It was like super like different and cutting edge, based in San Francisco, but only the first year was there. And then after that, you and your whole class traveled to a different city around the world for each semester. So you only spend like 4 months in each city. So even that was like one way for us to compromise to like still be able to live around the world and, travel and that kind of stuff while still studying. But we did the first year in San Francisco. And then after that, we spent the 4 months in Seoul, South Korea that we talked about before. And after that, we went to India, to Hyderabad, a city in the middle of India, like pretty much smack in the middle. Stayed there for 1 month. And then after that, we kind of, like that's kind of like the slippery slope that we took, because when we lived in Seoul, we decided not to be part of like the student housing, but instead we got our own apartment. And then, when we were in India, we kind of like left, we had our own apartment as well, but then we also kind of like left prematurely. And so we did the rest of the semester, at a distance. Yeah. Like remotely. So it was kind of like a slippery slope like that. And after a while, it just kind of felt like giving up or dropping out didn't really feel like a big deal, because we were already so kind of like detached from it, or like already so far removed from the whole context of the school. So yeah.
And I can imagine that many people see our life or think that this feels like, what kind of life is this? It's so purposeless in a way to just travel around and not have a traditional path of a career or that type of thing. Like, our life is literally just, I hate to say like trying to do fun stuff, but that's kind of what it is. Like, it's so stupid. And the thing is that if everyone did this, the world wouldn't work. But for us, this is what we realize makes us happy, to just feel this spontaneity and have new inputs all the time. And that makes us feel like, even if there's no greater purpose to it, we're building ourselves as people, and we're learning so much, and being able to talk to people about now 78 different countries that we've been to. With each one, we have experiences, we can relate. And if we meet someone from there, we understand them so much more. So it's really like we're kind of like writing a Wikipedia page in our minds of all the different places and experiences we've had that kind of makes our list longer and longer, and contributes a lot to our happiness and meaning. Yeah.
I mean, for me, the purpose is definitely just like constant learning, and I definitely feel like the life that we're living is more rewarding in terms of what we're learning than what I ever felt like in school, because I feel like the stuff that I'm learning is so firsthand. It's so useful, and I'm applying it, as we go. And just learning about the world, and about, like going to places like Uzbekistan or Bosnia and Herzegovina, like we talked about before, like just places that you didn't have an image of in your mind what it was like before at all. And then you leave there and you're like, wow, like I feel like I've expanded my mind so much just from this experience. And that's really it for me. Like, I really get a kick out of that. Like, just learning about a place from the people there, from being immersed in the culture and all that kind of stuff.
In case someone wants to get in touch with you, how can they reach you? What are your social media addresses?
Sure, yeah. So we're Oskar and Dan on YouTube. So Oskar, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Oskar with a K. That's what usually tricks people. Yeah, Oskar with a K, and Dan, D-A-N. Same handle on Instagram as well. So you can DM us there if you have a question or anything. You can also leave a YouTube comment or anything. Yeah.
A nice comment, please.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Yes.
And I mean, if you want to leave a mean comment and get blocked, that's fine.
Unless it's constructive criticism, and we'll try to get back to you as well. But yeah, we appreciate any feedback.
And you are doing TikTok as well, right?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sometimes.
Not as religiously as the other ones. But.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of work.
Yep. But we just hope with our videos that maybe even if one person listening to this will be inspired or think that what do I actually want to do with my life? And then it doesn't have to be traveling, but it's just the point of thinking about what is it I want to do? What is preventing me from doing it, and going out and really making the most of the time that we have.
Yeah. That's good words to finish the episode. Okay. I will put everything you heard or any information that's important into our blog post as well.
Of course, the links to the profiles to YouTube and Instagram. And we have a part which is the same at every episode. Falls euch diese Folge gefallen hat und ihr mehr hören wollt, dann findet ihr uns bei allen bekannten Streamingdiensten und überall, wo es Podcasts gibt.
Wir freuen uns, wenn ihr uns abonniert. Das kostet nichts und dann verpasst ihr auch keine Folge mehr. Und wenn ihr Feedback habt, schreibt uns einfach auf mail@ausgangpodcast.de.
Alle Infos zur Folge gibt es auch im Blogpost zur Sendung auf ausgangpodcast.de.
Yes, uns bleibt nur noch zu sagen, ich bin Toni.
Und ich bin Sebastian.
Und vielen Dank, Oskar und Dan. We'd like to say thank you very much, Oskar and Dan, for your time. And we had a lot of fun doing this.
Stay healthy, safe.
Danke gleichfalls.
Have always a good journey and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Und euch viel Spaß, was immer ihr auch noch tut, beim Waschmaschine ausleeren, spülen.
Ja.
Oder was man sonst noch so macht.
Bleibt gesund, bis bald.
Genau. Bis dann. Ciao.
Bye. Auf Wiedersehen.
Ihr habt Themenvorschläge, möchtet zu Gast sein oder habt Feedback, meldet euch per Instagram oder E-Mail bei uns. Alle Möglichkeiten und Adressen findet ihr auf ausgangpodcast.de.